Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Cynthia with Raise the Bar Consulting, and wanted to welcome everybody real quick. We have some people still coming in, so we'll give it a few more minutes. But I wanted to go over a little bit of tech. This is in a webinar format, so you do not have access to unmuting yourself or video. However, we can unmute you if you have a question that you'd like to ask Debbie towards the end of the presentation. Also, if you have a question and you don't want to forget it, we do if you scroll to the bottom of your screen, if it's open in full view, you'll see a Q&A option. I ask that we put any questions in that Q&A option. It'll help for us to be able to see it more clearly than putting it in the chat. Sometimes it can get lost in the chat if people are talking amongst each other. So you can send your questions there or hold on to them to the end. What else? There is the chat feature as well, so please discuss amongst yourselves, post comments, whatever it is you'd like to share with the group. And this is being recorded. So this recording will be available starting tomorrow on the Raise the Bar YouTube page. And with that, I will turn it over to Debbie.
Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you, everyone. Welcome. A beautiful day here in Southern California, wherever you are. I hope you are all well. Our topic today is donor retention is dollar retention. As we said in our blurb, it costs 10 times more to acquire a new donor than it does to keep an existing one. However, donor retention continues to drop. In this session, you're going to learn a new approach to donor retention, as well as 10 great tips on how to keep those donors that you work so hard to acquire. Statistics show that even a small 10% increase in retention can increase the lifetime value of your donor database by over 200%. So without any further ado, you do know this is being recorded. Make sure that you use the Q&A if you have questions, and let's take it away. I am Debbie Stanley. I have spent number of years in the nonprofit world. I was a development director and executive director, have raised thousands of dollars for nonprofits. I'm a CFRE, so I'm committed to integrity in our profession. And I work for a wonderful company called Pursuant. Pursuant is a full service agency, and we leverage data in order to inform those marketing campaigns. It's all about raising money, where we understand how important that is to your mission. We are also very mission driven, and I hope I give you some tips today. If you want to learn more, you've got my contact information. And I know that I promised the 10 tips, but I want to make sure that keep your mind open for, and I hate this word, we overused it tremendously through COVID, but pivot to a different attitude, a different approach. Because when we look at this problem holistically, we understand we've got to take a different mindful approach to donor retention. While the fundraising effectiveness report proved that overall giving increased, including dollars increased, retention continued to go down. And what was very troubling is a lot of these donors were new donors to your organization, new donors to your agency. I was talking to a food bank, and they had almost 4,000 new donors in 2020. And I asked him, I said, what are you doing to retain them? And he's like, oh, kind of the same thing we've always done. We can't keep doing the same things we've always done. Because what do they say? If you keep doing what you've been doing and expect a different result, well, you're a little crazy. So if we look at these numbers and we understand that these are a lot of new donors coming to your organization, this statistic is so troubling. The number of individual donors grew by almost 8%. And the greatest giving was seen among kind of small donors, those who give under $250. What's terrifying is that 80% of those donors aren't going to give you a second gift. Put that in your mind. So this organization, they got 4,000 new donors. 4,000 new donors. 80% of them will not be giving a second gift. So those were a lot of donors that came into their family, a lot of people who trusted them with that investment, and now they don't give again. Now, there's a lot of reasons why, and we're going to delve into some of that. But I really want to focus on this, that when we look at how to, again, pivot, if you get that second gift, then you double that number. You get 60% retention of repeat donors. So to set the stage today, we are focusing on how to get that second gift from those first-time donors. So question one, you've got to know what your numbers are. So just think a little bit. Do you know your retention numbers? Are they similar? The fundraising effectiveness report is free. If you want a copy, let me know, and let Cynthia know, let Jennifer know. They're out there, but how do your metrics compare? Are your donors giving more every year? Are they giving less? Are you creating that path for them? If we think about the for-profit world, excuse me one second. Anybody that knows me knows that this is very much a soapbox issue for me. Because if there is one change that I can make in my career and for the nonprofit sector, it's this: get people to focus on retention, them to understand that in the for-profit sector, if they had these type of retention, they'd have to close their door. So think about it. Apple, 97% retention rate if you're an Apple customer. These numbers reflect customers that leave. So in most business services, only 6.8. So they've got a 92% retention rate, 93%, 92%, 94%. None of these companies have below a 90% retention rate. Amazon, 93% retention rate. Netflix, 91% retention rate. And they know it's tied to profitability. If they focus on them, they'll stay. So let's be honest. Artificial intelligence has made some of Amazon's practices a little spooky. I mean, you get in, it's like, how do they know I need conditioner because my hair is turning green from my swimming pool? You know what? Because I bought it last July. And they probably figure I still have a swimming pool, I'm still swimming in it, and my hair is still turning green. So the bottom line is we like our 2-day shipping. We like that personalization. So that's the reason people stay. So you need to ask yourself, how are they doing this? And what can you do to replicate some of their practices? Well, of course, they've got lots of money. They got lots of people, lots of data. But mostly they follow a business practice that solicits this information to create a customer experience. And that customer experience is called customer success. The customer success model is a business model that focuses on customers achieving the outcomes they wanted with that purchase. For several years, I ran customer success teams for software companies like Blackbaud, heard of them, Rallyband, worked with Classy. Of course, at Pursuant, I run sales and some customer success focus. But I do this by listening and following some best practices, aligning their goals, your nonprofit goals, to the solution. successfully onboarding them, making sure they know how to use it, understanding where they are in their journey, and talk to them properly. So I'd like to introduce the donor success model, which will allow you to do some of the same thing. There's 3 steps to it, and the same 3 steps that all of the giants follow to ensure that their clients are getting the relationship, the experience that they want with their relationship with your organization. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day, it's like, what is a UX? Like, I know what a UI, a user interface, what is a UX person? Like, well, that's a user experience. What does that matter? And what is that a difference? Blah, 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 blah. But all of these technology best practices we should be using and deploying as part of our standard business operations in the nonprofit sector. And I always get this, okay, fine. That's great, Debbie. Are you going to give me the money to do it, the time to do it, the talent to do it, the people to do it? But I am going to teach you a couple of tips that'll help you employ this strategy successfully. I hope that makes sense. Let's move along. So best practice number 1, know your numbers. I was in a, back when we were meeting in person, I was at an AFP meeting. And I remember the speaker talking about this topic, talking about donor retention. And he asked the room, and there's probably 100, 150 nonprofits in the room. And they said, do you know your donor retention number? 3 people raised their hand. 3 people raised their hands. I went, that's crazy. And all of them were kind of in the standard. They were in the 40s or in the 30s. So first of all, you have to know your retention rate. You can't measure what you don't know. So if you do nothing else, do this analysis and keep on top of your number. Now, how do you do this? This is a calculation from Salesforce. Take the number of customers at the end of the period, subtracting the number of customers acquired during that period, divided by the number of customers by the start of the period, and that gets you to your retention number. Now, most of your CRMs will calculate this for you. But I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't share how Pursuance technology can help deliver and segment this for you. And I want to put this caveat out there that I am not going to be doing a bunch of commercials. But I do want you to think about your data and think about why this segmentation matters, and take the time to do it within your CRM, within whatever tool you're using, in order to arrive at this level of detail. So a quick glance shows me that my retention, and this is just a sample client, my retention went from 45% in 2020 to 30% in 2019 to 2020. And I have almost 3,000 lapsed or about to lapse donors. So that tells me right then something's wrong, something I need to do about this. But what is it? So I can look at this in the fundraising effectiveness report. Your segmentation may be different. You may call a low-level donor a different segment, or a mid or high-level donor. So sort this based on you, because the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, you could lose a whole bunch of small donors and it not matter to your bottom line. Conversely, you could lose a couple of big donors and it makes all the difference in the world. So really, by understanding how you match up against the reports can really help. So if I look at this, I see that my mid-level donor rate is kind of right on par. My mid-level donor is a little higher, so that's good. And my top tier donors, I'm doing pretty good with them. I'm retaining about 50%. This is based on the fundraising effectiveness report that says, you know, my general donors, I should be about 40%, mid-level, I should be closer to 60, and my high should be closer to 80%. So I know I've got some work to do here. So again, we're looking at prioritizing. You know, I can drill into this even further and see where do those $3,000 potentially lapsed donors, where do they fall into? Because we've only got so much time in a day. So you want to spend your time in the right place. You know, there was a quote I saw too that said that of all of these new donors that came in, a large number were these under 250. But those 250 have some potential that is being ignored. However, they also have a lot of organizations are spending a lot of time on these lower end donors. So you've really got to think about it as a holistic approach. So understand where you fall. You know, this can just inform how you spend your time, where you spend your time. The data is designed to manage your priorities. So every CRM will allow you to run a report. Last year, but not this, some years, but not this. But I would like to introduce a new one. I'm really excited about this one. I'm calling it the Al Bundy segment. I need cheers in the background. You know, Al Bundy, okay, whatever. Married with children. But anyway, these are people who have always given, but no donation yet. So they are key multi-year donors that are falling off, and you really may be missing them. So again, it's using your data to manage your priorities, understanding who they are, where they are in their life cycle, engaging them new. But again, the key best practice is know your data. And this is what I'm talking about, the Al Bundys of the world, is if you look at where your donors are in their life cycle, you know, those 22 new donors, you want to start them on a new donor journey. You've got some continuing donors or new monthly givers. Again, that's a different journey. But if you have key multi-year donors, people who give year after year, are you engaging them properly? So, you know, we don't want to waste our time, our breath, our strategies on things that aren't going to matter. So think about who your focus, your retention strategies on, and do the right things for those people. Keep them before you lose them. Yes, I know. Today we have a wide variety of organizations, from large to small, but you all have one thing in common. Not enough time and too much to do. But I promise that if you set some benchmarks and you set these as tasks to run your metrics once a month, compare contrast versus last month to, or last year to this year, it'll make a major difference in your fundraising. There are all kinds of tech tools and partners out there that can help you. Raise Up Our Consulting, I know, is one. Pursuant is another. We can help with our tech tools. Don't give it up. It can make a difference. Okay, best practice number 2. Understand desired outcome. What does that mean? What the heck? So we know there are common threads and themes onto why people give to your organization. You know, an affinity, social desires. They want to make a difference in their community. They feel bad about COVID, religious reasons, family reasons, but their desired outcome is largely unknown unless you ask. And that's one of the things that we're so timid about, is we don't ask. And so what happens is donors end up, they leave. So an outcome is loosely defined as something that happens as a result of an activity or process. So, I could say that I give to cancer because I want to help cure cancer. It's probably not the real reason I do it. I give to cancer because my mother-in-law died of breast cancer. I give to American Heart Association because my mother died of congenital heart. I give to veterans programs because you can see my flags in the background. I come from a very military-based organization. I want to further the missions of these organizations. I like feeling a part of it. My outcomes are pretty well defined, but they are family based. Unfortunately, these are the words of several donors. The outcomes that they get sometimes are bad outcomes. I have a neighbor down the street who is in direct mail, and the first one is from her. And she takes it like a direct mail piece, and she'll say, I know it cost them $7 to produce this direct mail piece. And she's like, and they're asking me for 50. So she's like, I don't want to give them money when they're spending all this money on this. Other people really want those pretty things. They want to know. A common reason is you ask to support a specific program, and then you never tell them what went on with that program. So think about that. Think about how you're engaging with them and how you're helping to understand what they hope to achieve with their donation. Now, there's a variety of reasons people leave. We're just talking about that bad experience. According to the Giving USA, the top 5 reasons people leave is those top 4 far surpass number 5. A lot of, kind of uninformed people in our industry say, well, people leave because they don't trust the nonprofit industry. They think there's too high overhead, or fill in the blank. But these top 4 reasons are things we can do something about. We can improve those experiences. Sending a thank you, no commitment from the organization, just again, talking about those outcomes, and only gave because someone asked them to. I have another kind of soapbox issue about Facebook fundraising. I hope I don't make anybody mad, but when you give to a campaign through Facebook, Facebook never provides your donation name to the organization. So you give, like I gave to my friend Wendy's birthday campaign. The only reason that Facebook is doing these campaigns is because they are gathering data about you. They care nothing about the nonprofits. They care nothing about furthering the mission. They are only doing it because they're at the very heart of Facebook. They are a data company. So number 4, I think, is very, very common. Peer-to-peers, Facebook fundraising, GoFundMe's, all of those really lead to number 3 and number 2 and number 1. So you want to create an experience and a one-to-one relationship with you, not with because Debbie asked them to give. You want to be able to keep them engaged because you're a great organization, and they should. I think one of the biggest reasons that people don't keep giving is because you don't ask them to. They see no reason to stay. You never asked them to stay. You never told them why they needed to stay. You never created that experience for them. It's not, please, 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 please stay. It's, hey, that was really great. I'm going to talk about communications cadence in just a second. But bottom line is figure out what they want out of their relationship with you and use that to get them to stay. You know, we know there's a problem. And the first step is to understand you have a problem. Then you have to get on board to solve it. So you know your numbers. You should be able to identify easily where your problems lie. So now you need to figure out that destination. So ask them where they want to go. Why did they give? You know, there's a ton of tools out there. I'm just reading this book on engagement fundraising, and they talk about doing surveys. You know, doing a survey with a new donor. Ask them, why did they give? What are they hoping to accomplish? Is there affinity with your children's programs? There is not a nonprofit out there that is singularly focused on one initiative. You know, this is me. I've walked for Susan Komen for almost 10 years. I personally raised almost $500,000. Komen knows me. They know my story. If I had started walking, well, if my mother-in-law was still alive today, I believe very strongly she would not have died because of the breakthroughs Komen has made in cancer research. See, Robbie didn't die from breast cancer. She died because she had Crohn's disease, and Crohn's disease, the cure killed her. So I walk because I want that to matter. And Komen knows that. They hear my story. They appreciate the story. So yeah, I'm in the front of that train. I've raised a lot of money from them, but I probably wouldn't have if they didn't take the time to understand it and learn my story. I get talking so fast, I forget to breathe. Now, on the other side of the coin, I received this letter from an organization. Thank you, Debbie, for attending our walk. What a glorious day it was. We're so glad you could join us for yet another year. Okay, so first of all, I wasn't there. I blew it off. I raised $2,500. There was a beer festival in Hillcrest, and it was a glorious day. So I decided to go to the beer festival instead. Number two, I had never been there before. So why were they thanking me for signing up for another year? And again, did I mention I wasn't there? So when I got this email from them, I just went, how hard would it have been for you to have scanned people coming in? You know, it was a big walk, so okay. Or simply recrafted your message to say, thank you for participating. Thank you for raising money. It was a glorious day. We raised blah, 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 blah. Did you make it? Include a little survey, include something that made me feel like, bluntly, that they cared. Needless to say, I've never supported the organization again. I've shared this example multiple times of they've created a donor journey for me where I felt certainly marginalized, invalidated. I just didn't feel like they deserved me. You know, every nonprofit, every company, we talked earlier about the giants. How do they know how to create those experiences? They're a data company. You know, that organization, they had some data. They had the ability to gather some data, and they chose not to. Yeah, I heard this great quote the other day. It was that every second of every day, every person leaves a 1.7 megabyte digital footprint. So if you don't know more about your donors than just their name, address, and how much they give, then you simply aren't paying attention. You know, all this information can really help you understand why they're giving and why they're giving to you. You simply need some ways to harness that data. Like I mentioned earlier, there are some low-tech tools. There's surveys, um, picking up the phone, and there are technology tools like Pursuance Giving DNA. Yet in my example, simply creating, I don't know, segmented email could have created a much different experience. So think about this. If you can't make a new donor your friend, at least don't make them upset. So practice number 3. I messed up. Pretend that's a 3. Is onboarding and retention marketing. So once you've boarded the train and you know your number, it is time to create that journey. We talk a lot, and I know there's probably a couple of webinars in the Raise the Bar series about donor journeys and supporter journeys and creating the right messaging and yada yada. But what I want to talk about very specifically is we're being intentional on that first gift, that second gift, so that we are creating a donor experience where we're really creating relationships with our people. So that new donor journey, it can follow a variety of different paths. This is just an example. So onboarding, a lot of us use it in our business lives. It's when a new employee comes in, we make sure they meet with all the team, they understand their role, they understand their responsibility, they understand what they're supposed to be doing, they understand their goals. Basically, it's creating a strong early experience. I think next month, and I think my friend Jeff is on the line here, from Automated Response, we'll be talking to you about using broadcast voice. Phone calls are a great way to start a relationship with the donor on the right foot. But I would encourage you also, don't forget to use that strategy with your seasoned donors as well. Maintain that regular contact to express your gratitude. But what I'm talking about here is using it for your new donor journey. And I know there's several of my clients I talk to, and they say, okay, we only have the CEO or the ED call if it's over a certain amount. I'm sorry, I just think that's a wrong approach. I'm in sales. I know that you can make 50 calls a day. They take 10 minutes. Most of the time you're in a voicemail, but you get that thank you call, then you send a signed note by mail. It makes all the difference in the world. Your key is you're trying to not create regret. You want people to feel really good about their first relationship with your organization so that they want to have a second and a third. So depending on when you send your newsletters, make sure you send them an announcement, let them know what you're doing, invite them to tour, send them a stewardship piece. Then in that 90-day journey, ask for that second gift, but give them a chance to know you a little bit better. You know them a little bit better. So you're creating an authentic journey. I know, I hear it. We're busy people. However, you have time for anything that's important. This is important. Retention is important, and it starts on day 1. Now, so many of us, we follow our same principles with marketing. We've got our communication calendar. We're going to do end of year appeal. We're going to do a summer appeal. We're going to do our fall newsletter. We're going to do our spring newsletter. We're going to do our daily invites. We're going to do our golf invites. Those are our 8 things we're going to do. Bam. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Retention marketing is a whole different animal. If you are working with like an acquisition list where you're trying to bring new people into your organization, you want to target them differently. You want to talk to them differently. But if you're talking to donors, specifically brand new donors, you want to understand how they become your donors. There's a big difference between segmentation and targeting, but both principles apply here. Your point is to know the people behind the numbers. Did your donor come in through a peer-to-peer? Debbie asked John to donate, John donated. You got a different cup of tea there. Did they come in through a virtual event? One of the great things that happened with COVID was people attended virtual events. I attended a virtual event for an organization in New York that I never would have attended, but Sting played. Sting played a 5-minute set, and I got to watch it. They had like little cocktails you could make. It was great fun. They now market to me very differently than they would to somebody that came in that would walk in the door of their gala. So think about it, then talk to them properly. Even with the resources of a for-profit entity like a Pursuant or a Blackbaud, time is still a premium. So we try to focus in on something we call an ideal customer profile. So that's, you've got a certain number of donors, you've got a certain type of fundraising you do. That's what I have as my ideal customer profile. When I look at the ideal customer profile for my nonprofit customers, I look at people who either have the capacity or the ability or affinity to give an above average gift. So if your average donation is, let's say, $72, you want to talk to kind of that group as a whole. But you want to talk to these people specifically. We call this kind of one-to-one versus a one-to-many approach. Now, I want to be emphatic that we're not just going to focus on, major donor prospects. We've got this guy right here that we're going to talk to. No, we want to, we want to really look at your donor base. There's report after report that's talking about mid-level giving, the messy middle, I think they're calling it. I think one of my folks here is on, who went to a webinar. We talked about the messy middle. Mid-level donors, actually, I'm gonna go back. This guy right here, when we got circled, he gets all your love, all your attention. He wants to shoot himself in the foot because he hears from you too much. He also probably hears from 15,000 other nonprofits too much because he fits that profile of a major donor, of he's got capacity, his real estate holdings are out there, all that public data is out there. So you're not the only one chasing that guy. But these guys, they get ignored. They tend to be the most loyal and the most neglected, because we spend a lot of time focusing on those upper level donors. We forget about this middle. They are least likely to give a legacy gift, again, because they're neglected. So when you create your retention marketing and onboarding strategies, really try to understand where these folks tend to lie. Your new donors come in. Who are they? Who could they be? And then talk to them in the voice that they understand. This cadence that I set here, it's just kind of an interesting one, because it certainly checks a lot of boxes. It looks at LinkedIn, it does personal emails, it does everything. But there's some kind of cute ideas there. Most of our clients, they use the same messaging to acquire new donors as they do to solicit a gift and steward donors. They welcome people to the organization, and then they ask them for a second gift at the same time. That's a mistake, and we know it. you know it, and it reflects in your results. Create this type of cadence. If you see this, it really has some kind of interesting, out of the ordinary suggestions, a LinkedIn post, a snail mail. There's a breakup email, which I'm going to get into in just a second. But the key to any cadence is understanding where are they in their journey, so you can use your time and resources wisely. There are literally thousands of tools out there. I know this invitation for this webinar was sent out through MailChimp. You can set up these type of cadences through MailChimp. But there are a few that really advise on how to create these type of cadences. So, play around with it a little bit, see what works. This is just an example. There's simpler templates to follow, but the key is talk in the voice they understand. Speak to them about the action you're hoping for them to take. If you're trying to acquire new donors, that's a whole different message than somebody you're welcoming to your organization, or people that you really just want them to stay. You want them to stay engaged, or you're inviting those folks to become recurring or upgrade candidates, getting that larger gift from them. So you want to talk in the voice they understand, but I would challenge you, you also want to talk in the way they understand. I have one organization, and they send me a email every week, and honestly, this is their cadence. They send me an email every week, a direct mail piece every month, and they never pick up the phone. That is lazy and a waste of time. As a salesperson, I get that phone calls are intrusive, but I despise direct mail. Both of my sons are environmentalists, so it hurts my mommy heart to see my round file fill up with these pieces of mail that they should not be sending me. And it's virtually impossible to opt out of direct mail. And like my friend Jeff says, nothing replaces the human voice. But using different strategies in different ways is so important. This type of information is available through the GivingD, and it's also available through a couple of other data sources. But we inform the world every day how we want to be communicated with. I don't shop Amazon on my computer. I shop it on my phone. And you know what? Amazon knows that. That's kind of scary, but they do. I don't buy things in the mail. I know where my checkbook is because I have to pay my gardener every month. But I don't write checks. Frankly, I'm a big fan of Venmo. So all of those data points are informing the for-profit world how I want to be communicated with. That data is available for you too. And by leveraging a phone call with an email, a phone call with a direct mail piece, you can really get the type of results you're looking for, which is engagement. So it all boils down to this, is creating that multimedia content calendar. You'll mix up your message, vary your communication, so you're engaging donors more than just simply asking for money. Update them on a campaign they're passionate about. Understand what they're passionate about. Congratulate them on helping you get closer to your goal. Make sure they know you couldn't do it without them. This can all be automated using a variety of tools. But I want to go back to that breakup email. If they are not interested, if they are in your database and they have not given you a gift and they have no capacity, they have no affinity for your cause, let them go. Let them go. Let it go. Let it go. Because you want to focus your intention on those you can engage deeper, those people you can create an authentic relationship with, and a lifelong journey that you walk alongside them. So create this type of content calendar. So if you see the different boxes here, I have outbound, retention marketing, upsell, which we're going to talk about next. These are just different ways for you to spell it out, to engage people in the way they want to be engaged with. And finally, our last practice is upsell, getting that second gift. So you've made them happy. You've created a great cadence. They feel very engaged with your organization. So now you need to start seeking that second gift. So how? You want to ask the right question. After giving that first donation, they can reengage in a variety of ways. And every single organization is going to be different. They can make another one time, they can become a monthly donor, they can attend an event, they can be a peer-to-peer. Depending on what your structure is, you need to understand what the next thing to do is ask them. And I understand it can look complicated, it can seem complicated, and I'm giving you a lot to do. But bear in mind, you just need to ask them some questions. First of all, if they came through a peer-to-peer, then ask them to become a fundraiser. If they gave a $50 gift, ask them to be a $50 monthly donor. If they fit the certain demographic mix of your other event attendees, ask them to do that. But it's understanding your data and taking the time to ask the right question. In fundraising, we learn all the time. It's the right person making the right ask at the right time, the right question, the right channels, all those rights. But now more than ever, people are asking for that. But you also have to understand where they are in their life stage to help you know what to ask them. Your data will inform you, but only if you use it wisely. There was a story that I read the other day. It said that 27-year-old received a request from an organization to attend a legacy giving webinar. So, they laugh, of course, like, I'm 27 years old. I'm not leaving a legacy gift. I can barely pay my rent. So, the key is to be intentional. Asking a 90-year-old woman, and that's a generalization, Grandma, to be a 3-day walker would be akin to asking that 27-year-old to make a legacy gift. Make the ask fit the person. Use your data to inform those cadences and inform those strategies. And I promise you, it will have huge results. When you get that second donation, you see them convert to recurring donors. You see them convert to fundraisers. You see them convert to ticket buyers. If you get that first donation, there's a whole new journey that you can take them on. So as I said at the very beginning, the math matters. So let's just look at this and let's look at math. I can hear my family laughing in my head because I do math horribly, but I promise I've checked and double checked these numbers. So look at where this could take you. Let's say you have 6,000 annual donors. And you're sitting about a 30% retention, and you can improve that 10%. That gives you an average gift size of 72. 600 new retained donors gives you an additional $43,000 a year. Now, let's say you can take those 60, you can convert 10% of them to monthly donors. That retention number goes up to almost 90%, and your revenue quadruples. So as you can see, these practices, they matter, they work. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's really not. I know that Cynthia and Jennifer will make sure that these slides go out. I'm going to fix my mistakes though. But to drill it all down, these are your top 10 tips. First of all, know your numbers. First of all, know your numbers. I encourage you to know them by segment, but at least know what your retention number is. know why they give. What is their what are they hoping to accomplish with their gift? There's half off theory. There's all kinds of psychological studies on why people give, but are they giving because of family connection? Drill it into just the simplest questions. Are they giving for a family connection? Are they giving because somebody asked them? Are they giving because they care in some reason? And then using that, create that meaningful donor journey. And that journey includes personalizing their experience. It's just my example that I used. That organization could have very simply found out if I was there and created a different journey. Because by not doing that, they made me feel unvalued. Be creative, simplify your process. I can't say it enough that make sure that making a donation is easy. Signing up for monthly giving is easy. Check your links on your communications to make sure they all work. Understand whether they like direct mail. Include a QR code on your direct mail pieces. I had a boss laugh at me when I said that a couple of years back, but now QR codes are all the rage. And more importantly than anything I've shared today is deeply desire that authentic connection with your donors. We make a choice every day. We made a choice years ago, months ago, days ago, seconds ago, to be in this profession, to serve the public good. We've made these choices. So it's the choices we make. I sell software. I make no apologies for that. I sell a really, really good piece of software. You work for really important agencies. You need to raise money for them. So don't apologize for that. Be honest about it, be authentic about it, show up, be seen, and feel good about what you're doing. Because that authenticity will show through in everything that you do. More and more through this last 18 months with COVID, those human connections are so important to us. At Pursuant, we believe that it's that giving that makes us human. My neighbor, Wayne, it almost makes me want to cry. He dropped me off ice cream the other day. He had made ice cream and he dropped off because my husband told him I had a horrible sore throat. So it almost makes me cry. That giving was so important. And we believe that it's that connects us all. We're in challenging times in our world, no matter how you look at it. Helping everybody give is some of the most important work that we can do. And it's what you're entrusted with every day. It's never been more important. The data is there to prove it. The data is there to help. So we want to help you, help them, help her, help all of our communities do more. So I think I've got a couple of minutes left to take some questions. We'll leave my contact information up there if anybody's got questions.
Thank you, Debbie. If anyone has any questions, can just quickly post in the chat and I can unmute you, or post your question, type out your question.
They're all digesting everything I just threw at them. I apologize. I didn't put a slide in here about the next session. So Cynthia, you might want to prompt on that.
I do have that. And I think Jeff is still with us. Let me give a really, I'll just mention it real quick. And then Jeff, if you want to give a little sneak peek, I can unmute you. Just send me a chat, let me know. Okay, well, if no one has any questions, you do have Debbie's contact information. Feel free to reach out to her. Our next session for the Upping Your Game series is Thursday, July 29th, again at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern. And it will be, the title is Voice Broadcasting, a Surprising Tool for Engaging Your Donors. And that will be with Jeff Troyer from Automatic Response Technologies. Yes, and Jeff said he can give a little preview. So I'm going to allow you to talk, Jeff.
Yeah, I want to say one thing before you leave.
Sure,
Is
go ahead.
we offer a free trial for the Giving DNA solution. So it's very easy. You just load in a constituent file, the Giving file. You can run those data points. I can walk you through it. So if nothing else, you've got a baseline for what your retention goals should be. And I'm happy to help anybody walk through that. Jeff.
And okay, great. Go
Hello,
ahead,
Cynthia.
Jeff. Yes.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, well, thank you very much. Debbie, I loved your presentation. Awesome. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Well, yes, I'm excited. In 2 weeks, I'll be sharing a little bit about voice broadcast. We call that a surprising tool for engaging your donors. And we are going to be talking about the most powerful communication tool in the whole world. And I won't give it away. I won't tell you what it is right now, but we're going to be talking about all the different ways that you can use voice broadcast to engage your donors and boost your retention. Another great tool that tags on to what Debbie was talking about and can be used in conjunction with. And then I'm going to be giving some great examples and case studies and ways that you can use it in your nonprofit. So I'm excited about that and look forward to talking to you all.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you, Jeff.
You bet.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you, Debbie, for
Thank you.
a fabulous presentation today. I really appreciate it. I was having a little bit of challenges getting online, and it turns out I was in there as a participant for a few moments. So didn't get to start it off, but I'm glad to be wrapping it up. And thank you so much for joining us and for all the work you do, your expertise, and sharing this tool with us, because I think it's super valuable for organizations. And I hope that people get the memo, and really appreciate the time you spent with us today. So thank you.
Great.
And I want to just thank everyone else who's on the call for being here. I hope you had a fabulous hour and really got some really fabulous morsels of information from Debbie, and do reach out to her or to any one of us if we can be support for you as you're growing your fundraising efforts, or if you have any other questions that are related to fundraising, organizational development, or transitional leadership. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.